would like. All right, so if you guys at home have a blanket, you might want to use that as well. So we're just going to take a moment to find a nice long spine in any comfortable seated position. This week we're talking about and working with the sacral chakra, or the Svadhisthana. Last week we worked with our root chakra, Muladhara, at the very, very base of the spine, what connects us to the floor right now. Svadhisthana, or sacral chakra, is just a little bit higher between the belly button and our pubic bone. Feel free to draw on Ujjayi breath. That's that victorious breath, or ocean breath, as it is often called. We make this deep ocean sound by half closing our swallowing muscles. If you're not sure how to half close, swallow and then feel how it feels to open up the full way, and then swallow again and only open up halfway. And you should hear that deep ocean sound, whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. All the chakras are associated with different elements. Sacral chakra is associated with water. So what better breathing style to use than ocean breath? Maybe you imagine the tide or waves on the ocean, just coming in and then pulling back out as you breathe. On your next inhale, draw both arms overhead, palms come together. Exhale, hands to heart. Place one hand over your heart and the other hand just below your belly button. Here we set our intention to find our place within each pose, within our daily lives and life in general. To be open to pleasure and to honor what we are feeling. As you're ready, go ahead and release your hands down, blink open your eyes, and feel free to come into a comfortable seat that doesn't necessarily have a long spine. Last week I did the asana first. I think I'm going to do it more towards the middle just to kind of break it up a little bit this week. So yeah, go ahead and get comfy. Be in your own place, in other words, right? So Svadhisthana, Svada is Sanskrit for one's own place. Well, actually, Svadhisthana means one's own place. Svada means to sweeten. So the sacral chakra reminds us to sweeten life by opening to its pleasures. So just a little bit of more of a recap about last week. So our root chakra is where we meet our survival. It's where we connect with the earth, connect with our background, our family, our support, literally meaning root support. So survival is met in our first chakra and pleasure is met in our second chakra. In chakra 1, we discussed be here now, right? That's like a lot of what we are working with in our first chakra. So now we need to honor our feelings in that moment too. It's not important, or it's not enough to just be here now. We want to be present and aware and honor the feelings that we're having in the moment as well. Pleasure is a natural healing force. We've all heard the phrase, laughter is the best medicine. So we must open all of our senses or learn how to rein them in if we are too open, right? All pleasure, sensuality, intimacy, connection, and even creativity are kind of ruled by the sacral chakra, right? Because passion fuels creativity, right? If you're passionate about, I don't know, like if you are passionate about solving a certain world problem, right? You're going to be finding all those creative ways to do that. I'm going to move you guys closer for the discussion. Just feel really far away. Whoop. All right. Does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. If you guys have any questions, just unmute yourself and just say, hey, hey. All right. So every chakra is associated with a right, right? We're all born with certain rights. And the right for the sacral chakra is to feel and to want, right? We all have the right to feel how we feel, and we all have the right to want things. Each chakra is kind of like, I don't want to say solidified, but it's shaped during a certain phase of our life. And so for this one, it's formed during the age of 6 months to 2 years. And if you think about what that age range does, like what their job is to find out what things they enjoy and what things cause pain, right? If I pull if I pet that kitty really nicely, the kitty purrs. If I pet that kitty really hard and pull its tail, the kitty hisses and bites. And so we learn at that age what is pleasurable and what is not. And then we take that with us forever. So the big challenge, every chakra has a challenge. Some people call them demons, but for this one, it's guilt, right? How often do we say, oh, I just cannot take the time to enjoy myself at the spa because there's so much work to do. I just cannot even think about eating that chocolate because I worked so hard today on, it would ruin all my progress. Or how often do we think I shouldn't enjoy this beautiful clean water because there's people in the world who cannot enjoy clean water. It's even just like as basic as that, how we feel guilty about enjoying anything. It's like ingrained in us. So yeah, every chakra has an element. For root chakra, it's the earth, right? Feeling connected to the earth. For the sacral chakra, it's water. I have a quote here that I just think is really cool. Where earth is solid and fixed, water is fluid and formless. Water follows the path of least resistance and flows downward, shaping or following the shape of the earth or being absorbed into it, which is just kind of a cool mental image, just following water down a hill, down a stream, and how it will shape the earth. Like when you think about erosion along the shoreline or along the edges of the creek, how the water shapes that. And that's just really cool because you never really realize how strong water is until you see the damage that it can do. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts? Yeah. Okay. All right. So with every chakra, we can have excessive excesses or deficiencies, or we can be balanced. And obviously we want to be balanced, but sometimes as we go through life, we'll discover we are not. So if you have an excessive sacral chakra, you're going to be prone to addictions. So like stimulations or sexual addictions. So whether it's food or substances, or even like if there's just something that you're addicted to doing every day, like playing a game on your phone, you have to do it or else you cannot start your day. We tend to have, if we're having that excess, obsessive attachments to people or to things. We can be extremely sensitive and have really big mood swings. You can have emotional codependency or invasion of others' boundaries or letting others cross yours. If you're deficient, you might be really rigid, either emotionally or physically. You might fear change or have a lack of desire, passion, excitement, or you might have excessive boundaries. So you might be like, whoa, hold on, I'm not gonna let anybody in. Whereas if you are excessive, you're like, oh yeah, come on in, everybody, all the time, everybody's all with me, right? You tend to like just let anybody into your life. So if you're more balanced, you'll have a little bit more emotional intelligence. You'll be able to be more understanding of what you are feeling and maybe even how to express that. You'll have healthy boundaries. You'll have passion, but not too much. You'll be sexually satisfied. You'll enjoy pleasure without clinging to it or being addicted to it. And like, well, that was fun. And on to the rest of our day. Let's see. And so building on the first chakra, it's not just being comfortable in your body, right? That's what the root chakra helps us to establish, being comfortable in our body. But now, if our sacral chakra is balanced, we can be expressive with our body, maybe even graceful. I kind of feel like the only time I'm ever graceful is when I'm doing yoga. And it's slow, like slow moving yoga. If we're doing like a quick vinyasa, I'm just all over the place. So, all right. So does anyone have any questions? Okay, all right. So we are going to move on to our asana portion. So if I'm just trying to think if there's anything that you may definitely want to use blocks for. Yes. Yes. So a lot of the question was, what would make someone excessive or deficient within this chakra? So a lot of things. So starting back at that early childhood, right? If you had something really traumatic happen to you, like something that was extremely painful, that could stay with you. A lot of times, just traumatic relationships, especially that were intimate relationships, or you let somebody in and they violated that, right? Whether it was sexual or not, right? We can all be really taken advantage of in any kind of relationship. And so that can do that. And depending on the situation, you could become deficient or excessive. And a lot of times that would even just kind of depend on how you are in your root chakra, right? Depending on the support system that you already have established, you could kind of become either. So different people always react to different things in different ways. or I should say, different people react to the same thing in different ways, right? So it's kind of like a flow chart, you know what I mean? But really any trauma that involves being in an intimate relationship, whether it's sexually intimate or an intimate friendship, can really cause a lot of damage there.
Like an abusive childhood.
Yes, yeah, an abusive childhood or an abusive spouse. I was just thinking something and I can't remember it. It'll come to me like as we're doing our peaceful warrior. Yeah.
I've heard about closed chakras. Is that similar to deficient?
Yes. Yes. So usually when people say their chakra is open or closed, that means, so closed and open, some people will say my heart chakra is open, but what they mean is that their heart chakra is balanced, right? Because people think I'm letting people in, so therefore my heart chakra is open. That's why the more you study chakras, you think more of excessive and deficient, because there is such a thing as too open, right? So I guess excessive is too open. So that's why open and closed is a little bit trickier. But we often think about opening something, right? Rather than being excessive or deficient. It's just more in our vernacular. The question was, what is that the same as an open?
Is it closed chakra?
Yes. She was asking about closed and open terminology there. Sorry, they can only really hear me, so that's why I repeat the questions. Yes.
So do all chakras have a memory based on life events?
Do all chakras have a memory based on life events? Yes. Yes. And one of the, so I said this last week, but a lot of you weren't here and you guys weren't. So when I first heard about the chakras, I was like, all right, okay, that's a little weird. But the more I studied it, because I had to study it for my yoga teacher training, I was like, this is amazing. It was like years of psychology in like 2 months. And like having to systematically work through all of them. There's just so much, you know, and it really, working with them like in a one-on-one setting with somebody can really, or even just like in a journaling setting, like if you have a chakra journal, it like prompts you with questions and it takes you through each one systematically. And I really realized that it's just an ancient form of psychology. And even when we think about how physically in our body we hold on to stress, right? Like how often like do we hear something that just like grates us in our mind and we're like, oh, right? Or we can feel grief and anxiety in our hips and our shoulders, right? So we really hold on to things in our bodies. And that's really where working with the chakras can really help, because we don't always even realize until we start digging really deep. I mean, if you've ever been to a therapist, like you don't really realize how deep you're going to go sometimes. And you just have these moments where you're like, holy crud. Like I did not realize that I was holding something like that in myself. And one of the things that someone had asked last week was about like something, should you practice a certain thing if you were excessive or deficient, or did it matter? And I had said about how it's really good to just kind of practice with a balanced asana practice. If you're doing an asana practice, those poses, right? And after she left, I was talking to one of the other women who stayed afterwards and helped me clean up. And we were just kind of talking about that. And I made a really good analogy. So I wanted to bring it to you guys. So when we have, hopefully I say it well, I set it to my phone and it voice recorded it really weird. So I was like, that is not what I said at all. It called chakras shockers, which I just thought was funny too. So when we are working to balance something, like if we know we're excessive and we're working to balance it, we don't want to do a bunch of poses that are just to make it deficient. You know, we tend to like over practice. We tend to over close it then, you know. So I was thinking about how, like, if you have a soup that's too peppery, you don't just keep adding salt to it, because then it's going to be too salty and too peppery. So you would just kind of end up like being all over the place, like too closed or too deficient, too excessive, just kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And the best thing is actually to take certain movements within a pose, or take two poses and then like counter pose and pose. And which is kind of what you'll see in here. Like we do like a downward facing dog, which, you know, kind of releases our sacral area upwards, right? And then we come into a plank or tabletop, which brings it back down. So we bring it up and then we bring it down. And if you're thinking about like heart openers, you might think about lowering your chest down to the floor for cobra and then lifting all the way up into upward facing dog, lowering down for really, really low cobra and then pressing back up. We always want to, you know, do a pose and then a counter pose. So not a ton of back bends to open the heart, right? Not a bunch of heart openers. We need to do both. We need to open the heart and open the shoulder blades to keep things balanced. Does anyone else have any questions? Are you all just thinking about soup that's too peppery and too salty now? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll get started with the asana. I think I'm gonna turn lights on just a tad more. But I'll have you go ahead and come into child's pose, whatever version of child's pose makes you happy. Feel free to use a blanket or a prop of any kind. And as you're here, maybe you'd like to think a little bit about your Svadhisthana, your sacral chakra. Maybe you feel pretty well balanced. Maybe you feel as though you're excessive or deficient. And as we go through this, I'll give a couple of moments where you can choose what you would like to do. We'll also have some moments where we do movement within the pose. And we'll all be doing those same movements. But if you are excessive, you'll concentrate on maybe the opening or the lifting. And if you are deficient, you'll concentrate on the closing or the lowering. So we'll just take a few more moments here. And let's just take this second or two to connect to the earth below us. Take a moment of gratitude for your support system. And just let your body be heavy
imagining that you are just leaning, you're pressing into your support system, whether that's people, systems in place, your home. Maybe it's your family, or maybe it's the people that you've adopted as your family. Nice and slow. Begin to press up, finding your way into tabletop. And then begin to tuck your toes under and lift the hips to find forward fold. If your blanket's on the mat, go ahead and remove it. Take any movements here that feel good. Maybe you pedal the knees. Right? Take this moment to tap into pleasure, that physical pleasure of what feels good in your body within this pose. As you're ready, come into stillness. Spread your toes if you're able and gently bend your knees. Let your arms be heavy and then slowly press into the support of the floor and rise up to mountain pose. Rolling the shoulders down when you reach it. Gently lifting the gaze, looking straight ahead. Knees are just slightly bent. Maybe you just make sure that your glute muscles are released. Maybe you just kind of shimmy your knees and let your hips shimmy a little bit from side to side, just to make sure that we're nice and relaxed. Maybe you're drawing on your Ujjayi breath. On an exhale, slowly begin to sink your hips down and find chair pose. Option to bring the hands to the waist, hands to heart center. Maybe you reach the arms up into the air, whatever works best for you. Full deep breaths. Imagining that you're drawing your sacral area down towards the floor. I'm going to do bioenergetic grounding stance, but we're going to add something a little bit different than we did last week. On an inhale, just take this moment to really press your sits bones back. Maybe you even open your heart a little bit by reaching the arms back. As you're ready, on an exhale, press into the floor, come all the way up to standing, and just gently tuck your tailbone under. Inhale again as you press the sits bones back, opening the arms however you wish. And then press the feet into the floor, rising up, exhale, tailbone just slightly tucks under. Continue with this movement, inhaling, imagining that we're doing that cat-cow movement here, right? Inhaling as you send the sits bones back, exhaling as you gently tuck the tailbone under. Continue with this. If you feel that you are deficient, you want to be concentrating on the sink. If you feel that you are excessive, you want to concentrate on the rise. So go ahead and feel free to close your eyes. We'll just do this a couple more times. If you feel like you're balanced, concentrate on both of them. The next time you rise, we'll go ahead and rise once more to our mountain pose. Roll the shoulders down. Just taking a moment to breathe. On an inhale, we'll reach both arms overhead. Arms lift up. As you're ready, take a big step back with your left leg, spin the heel down, and we'll make our way into a warrior one. Right, for a warrior one, we aim to square the heart forward, and usually our hips aim to square forward. And I want you to imagine here that you're pressing your thighs in towards each other. Even if you railroaded your feet to have a more balanced stance here, which you can certainly do. You can take that right foot out to the outer edge of the mat. As you're here, press your feet into the support of the floor and energetically press your thighs inward towards the midline of your body. One more breath. And on an exhale, we'll take our left hand down to our leg, turn our torso out to the side, and just come into a peaceful warrior. Right arm reaches up by the ear. You can adjust your legs however you need to. And then here, we're going to feel that energy of pressing that right thigh outward, opening that sacral area. Full deep breaths, finding peace within our hearts, within the pose. As you're ready, we're going to inhale and turn out to the left, finding a wide-legged forward fold. Go ahead and fold as you're ready. Take any movements that feel good. If you'd like to open your stance further, you are welcome to do that. Again, just take this moment to tap into the pleasure of your body, doing what feels good in your body. We often think about having to be symmetrical in our yoga asana practice, but we're not worried about that because sometimes certain things feel really good on one side, like that stretch feels amazing on one side, and on the other side, it's just kind of eh. So go ahead and take those movements that feel good. As you're ready, we're going to toe heel the feet in just a little bit closer. Point the toes out, bend the knees, and on an inhale, reach the arms up, coming into fierce angle or goddess pose. Full deep breaths. Hands can come to the thighs if you would like. If it would feel good here, you can also tilt forward and reach one shoulder down and then the other. If you're moving, go ahead and come into stillness. Reach the arms up into the air. And on an inhale, we're going to sweep forward to the front of the mat. Again, reach the arms overhead, upward salute. Full deep breaths. On an exhale, go ahead and bring the hands to the heart. And just take a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for your body. Gratitude for the sensations that we can feel in our body that bring us joy. On an inhale, go ahead and reach your arms back up. Big step back with the right leg, and we'll find our warrior one here. And again, you are welcome to railroad the feet, aiming to square the heart forward, and we want to energetically feel that pushing towards the midline with the legs. Feet press into the floor to keep us lifted. Full deep breaths, shoulders drawn down. One more breath here. And then as you're ready, we'll inhale, finding the right hand, reach down the right leg. Maybe you change the angle of the feet, positioning of the feet, finding peaceful warrior. And here we want to find that energetic feeling of that left knee pressing outward. Full deep breaths. Gaze can be up towards the sky or down towards the ground. As you're ready, on an inhale, we'll open out to the side once more. Find our wide-legged forward fold. Take any feet adjustments you need to take and fold in whatever way feels good for you. Again, you are welcome to take movements that feel good, or maybe you just enjoy stillness here. And maybe on this side, you don't do exactly what you did on the other side. Again, we don't have to be perfectly symmetrical. As you're ready, we'll begin to toe heel, the feet in just a little closer to each other. Point the toes out, bend the knees, and as you're ready, begin to reach up, finding fierce angle. Again, you can do whatever you would like here with arms. Maybe you come into those little twists. Maybe you enjoy stillness. Maybe you reach up into the air and then exhale back down. Concentrating on that lift. If you're excessive, reaching down if you're deficient. We'll be here for 2 more breaths. Coming back into stillness. On an inhale, sweep forward once more. Reach the arms up into the air. Maybe you take a back bend here. Feel free to just reach the arms up into the air. If you're in your back bend, maybe you want to bring your hands to your hips and press your hips forward. If it doesn't feel good to drop your head back, that's okay. Keep your gaze forward. One more breath. If you're in your back bend, go ahead and come straight back up. Reach the arms into the air and fold. Finding that forward fold once more again. Take movements that feel good. Begin to cross your right leg behind your left leg. If you can't reach the floor comfortably here, you are welcome to bring blocks to your hands. We want to find a place where both feet can be on the floor, and we draw our thighs towards one another. Feel free to also bring your hands to rest on your shin or on your left quad. Feel the energy of pressing your thighs towards one another. One more breath. As you're ready, step it back to center and then take the left leg right behind. You might discover that you can have your feet a lot closer together with one leg in the back as compared to the other leg. Our hips aren't perfectly symmetrical, so that's really normal. Again, feel free to rest your hands wherever you find balance. As you're ready, bring your left leg back out. Bend your knees generously to bring your hands to the floor and then step the feet back and we'll find our downward facing dog. Again, take movements that feel good. Full deep breaths. Finding your own place here, not worrying about what you look like, what others are doing, but just being present in your body and being aware of the sensations. As you're ready, on an inhale, we'll roll forward to find a plank. If you would like, you can bring your knees down to the floor. If you would like, you can walk your hands back underneath your shoulders and come into tabletop, whatever you would like to do. In all of these poses, we're concentrating on drawing our thighs inward energetically, right? Our legs stay still, but we use that energetic inward sensation. One more breath. If you're in any plank, go ahead and come down onto the knees. If you'd like to grab your blanket and bring it under your knees, you are welcome to do that. And just like that bioenergetic grounding stance, we're going to come into some cat-cow movement here. Inhaling, tailbone lifts, belly down, chest and gaze forward. Exhaling, tailbone tucks under, back rounds up, head drops down. As you're doing this, again, if you are having excessive, if you feel that you are excessive, if you are too open, you want to be really concentrating on that exhale as you tuck the tailbone under. If you feel that you're deficient, you really want to concentrate on that inhale and pressing the sits bones up and back. Allow your breath to be full and deep. Feel free to exhale through the mouth or even inhale through the mouth if you need. As you're ready, come back into stillness. Nice and slow, begin to walk the knees forward towards your wrists. Take your ankles out to the side, and then we're going to come down onto our bottom. Begin to bring the soles of your feet together. We'll come into a bound angle pose. Sitting nice and tall. Go ahead and just come into whatever variation of this pose you like. If you like to fold forward, really reaching the heart forward, you can. If you like to round your back here and just get some shoulder blade stretches, you're welcome to do that. Maybe you like to bring your hands behind you, get a little bit of lift for your bottom, and then just let your knees rock from side to side, whatever feels good for you. If what feels good for you would involve moving into a different variation of this pose. Go ahead and do that. We'll be here for about 5 more breaths. As you're ready, begin to make your way back into a neutral spine with the feet still like this. Begin to just bring your hands out to the side. Maybe you rest them on blocks if you can't reach the ground comfortably. Find your long spine. Feet can be close to your sacral area, or you can have them a little further out, whatever works best for you, wherever you are most comfortable. On an exhale, we're just going to begin to draw the knees closed. And then inhale, opening the knees back up. You probably already figured out which to concentrate on. But if you're excessive and you need to close off a little bit, you concentrate on closing. If you need to concentrate on opening, you can go ahead and concentrate on that. As you're ready, allow your knees to fall open one last time. And go ahead and open your legs nice and wide, finding a straddle. Sitting nice and tall. As you're ready, your choice here. Some people really enjoy rounding the back and dropping the head down. Maybe you prefer to reach the heart forward. Generally, rounding the back and dropping the head down allows us to tilt our pelvic bone upwards. So that might be good for excessive, right? If you need to rein it in a little bit. Don't feel, however, if you are needing to reach the heart down to the floor, that everyone's going to be like, oh, you're excessive. We shouldn't be looking at each other, but also sometimes just reaching the heart downward here just feels really good, especially if you didn't have a really good stretch today. That might be what your body needs as well. Maybe you move within the pose. As you're ready, begin to press your way back up. And we'll reach the legs forward. Get any fluff out of the way, really bring your sits bones down to the floor. And again, you have that same option here. Maybe you hinge forward, maybe you round the back. Doing what feels good in your body. Or thinking about whether you're excessive or deficient. Maybe you just take movements that feel good. As you're ready, begin to lift the spine back up and make your way into any comfortable seated position, maybe cross-legged, maybe you come back into bound angle. Find your long spine. We're going to come into a mudra, Asta mudra, hand gesture. We're going to go ahead and draw your thumb and index finger together and make a diamond with your thumbs pointed down. Keeping that diamond shape, begin to interlace your other fingers. And then we're going to take our hands all the way down and place the base of your pinkies right around that space for your sacral chakra. Index fingers are pointed down, thumbs pointed up, still making that diamond. And as you're breathing here, we talked about how the Svadhisthana fuels our creativity. So just take this moment to connect to your creativity as you breathe, maybe a Ujjayi breath if you're still comfortable with that. Concentrating on enhancing your creativity or harnessing your creativity, right? Sometimes we just have too much creativity and we need to focus it onto one or two things. Maybe you just thought, why are you talking about creativity? I am thinking about other things. If you want to concentrate here on opening yourself up to intimacy, you can certainly concentrate on that, or maybe closing yourself to too much intimacy. Open your boundaries or put up a few more. As you're ready, we'll go ahead and release our hands. If you need to kind of shake them out or take some wrist rolls, you can. We are going to move into an affirmation meditation. So if you have any little wiggles or movements that you'd like to get out right now, if you just need to take some little spinal twists or some side bends, you are welcome to do that. Maybe take a sip of water. So I do have several meditations. I feel like this is such a broad area of our life, right? So I have a lot of options for you, 4 for deficient and 4 for excessive. I did place them 1 around the room. I'll bring it over after I read it to the computer, and then I'll bring it over to this area of the room, just in case you forgot what I said. But go ahead and close your eyes and see if any of these really kind of hit you. To balance a deficient Svadhisthana, I love and enjoy my body. I am open to touch and closeness. I allow myself to experience pleasure I share my passion and creativity with those who value me. I'll read them one more time. I love and enjoy my body. I am open to touch and closeness. I allow myself to experience pleasure. I share my passion and creativity with those who value me. To balance an excessive Svadhisthana, my sexuality is sacred. My body is sacred. I have healthy boundaries. I share my passion and creativity only with those who value me. Again, my sexuality is sacred. My body is sacred. I have healthy boundaries. I share my passion and creativity only with those who value me. So I'll just bring this over to the computer in case you wanted to look at them again. Allow your breath to deepen. Once again, take any little movements that feel good to you. We're going to practice a pranayama, a breathing exercise that really makes us really aware of what is happening within our body, within the trunk of our body. You are welcome to stay seated. If you would prefer to lie down on your back, you are welcome to do that. Maybe you would like to lie down with the soles of your feet together and the knees open. So go ahead and just take a moment. We don't want to support our backs, but if you would like to support your head, you can certainly do that. Would you like a blanket for your head? When everyone looks settled, we'll go ahead and begin. The pranayama we're going to practice is called Dirga, or a lot of times in English, it's called a 3-part breath. We're going to focus on the sensations of our body. So on your next inhale, find a deep belly breath. Send your breath all the way down to your belly. If your hands are on your belly, maybe you even feel the area below your belly button rise. Almost as though your sacral area is taking that deep breath. As you exhale, just allow the belly to come back down. Deep inhales and exhales. And notice how this feels within your body. How does it make you feel in your heart? The next time you inhale, inhale deeply, draw that breath all the way down, but then take that extra sip of air and feel your chest rise. As you exhale, you will feel your belly come down just a little bit, but then your chest will depress and then your belly will depress the rest of the way. Continuing with this. And notice how this extra sip of air makes you feel. Maybe it almost feels like you're taking 2 inhales before you exhale. Maybe you feel your belly rise and then it's almost like a little pause and then you feel your chest rise. Or maybe you've done this kind of breathing before and it just flows really naturally. We'll take one more breath like this. And then on your next inhale, feel the belly rise, feel the chest expand, and then feel your collarbone expand. Exhaling again, you'll feel that little bit of a belly dip, and then you'll feel your collarbone come back, your chest depress, and then your belly. And continue breathing in this manner. Again, you might feel as though it almost is 3 separate parts, or you might feel as though it's one big, full, long inhale. Notice how your face feels as your clavicle expands. Oftentimes, we feel the countenance of our face widen. We almost feel as though our cheekbones just reached for our ears. Sometimes it even brings a smile, like a gentle smile to our face. And certainly if this breathing technique is at all making you feel stressed, or is giving you anxiety, or is bringing up just unpleasant sensations in your body, you do not need to do it. You can just return your breathing to normal. But let's do this for about 3 more breaths. As you're ready, allow your breath to return to normal. Begin to draw movements into your body that feel good for you, that awaken you. Gently make your way onto your right side. And then begin to make your way up to a comfortable seated position. And let's just take a couple more breaths right here. As you're ready, open your eyes. We do have a couple minutes left, and I was just wondering if anyone else had any questions. Anything? Yes. Yes. That was one of the things I was thinking. I was like, we have 5 minutes left. I want to address that because I know that like certain areas of our life, it's all just so situational, right? You might have really poor boundaries friendship wise and get burned over and over and over again by friends, but you might have like really do not let relationships in, right? You might have a really hard time opening yourself up to a partner. My contacts are getting a little funky. So that is one thing, you might be extremely in touch with your creativity, and then not be great with boundaries or intimacy. Can also be the opposite. She had asked if you can be both rather than be balanced. Can you be excessive and deficient? And then one of the other things that I wanted to address, I can't remember if this was what I was going to say earlier or if that was especially in the case of partner relationships. A lot of times if you have been had a tragedy in your life, like a parent dying or a sibling dying, you're feeling such great grief that you will actively seek out pleasure. So while it's not necessarily like an intimate relationship that suffered, that is what can mess with your sacral area, because you're going to be seeking out pleasure so that you don't feel the grief. And as far as being hurt in a partner relationship, a lot of times moving into a new relationship, you can be fine But if you were in that former relationship for a long time, as you are in the next relationship for a long time, those hurts can start to affect your current relationship, right? Like and we think about that all the time. We see that in movies and we're like, oh, that's so cliche, but it's cliche for a reason, right? And then we can also, let's say that you were hurt within a relationship, but you are still with that person. And you're thinking, oh, I need to work on my sacral chakra. I need to work on my sacral chakra. I've forgiven them. It's fine. A lot of times it's not necessarily a heart chakra. Maybe you did forgive them. It's not sacral chakra. It's a root chakra because they were supposed to be your support. Right. So it's all just so interrelated, which is why I just find it all so fascinating. And yeah, so if you have any other questions, let me know. Yeah.
I think last week, I was virtual last week.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
I think that you had talked to the root chakra, like a lot of us develop when you're really young.
Mm-hmm.
So then how does that kind of basis that, like as things occur as you're throughout life, then does it kind of go back to that, or does it just, like, how does that impact then when like a different event happens in a relationship, or is it all, or is each one established kind of as you're young?
So they're all established like within childhood, really, childhood through like early adolescence. But like any significant change can just kind of throw everything out of whack. Like if a parent dies when you are, an adult, especially like a younger adult, college age, in your 20s, that can that's like half of your support system is gone. And it's just like, it really just kind of throws everything out of whack. And having had a good relationship with them will make all of that easier to kind of come into balance again. But having a poor relationship with them will make it a lot harder to find that balance going forward. Did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. She was asking about the stages of development, and I was, are you sure I answered your question?
Yeah, like it all kind of, it can come up at any point.
Yeah.
You kind of have a basis from when you're
Yes. Yeah.
early childhood.
Yeah. We kind of establish like a home base, right? I'm not really good with sports terminology. So maybe I'm not saying that right, but like we have this like, yeah, in childhood, we kind of establish everything about who we are, our support system, how we relate to the world, how we relate to others, how we relate to, for lack of a better word, God, all there is, if we choose to relate to that. And we develop all of that really when we're young. And that just kind of establishes our view. And so, when you're working with the chakras, like if something significant happens when you're older, you don't always necessarily want to go back to where you were, because where you were might not have been balanced, right? Like you might have had a really traumatic relationship with a parent as you were a child. So you don't want to necessarily get back to where you were before the more recent trauma. So it's really about like just trying to find what is balanced for you at this given moment in life. So, yeah. Does that make sense? It's all very vague, but it's also really beautiful. And, when you really start, people often talk about how like the chakras have colors, red, orange, yellow, green, blue. They have shapes. There's ways that you can balance a deficient chakra the sacral chakra by bringing a water fountain into your house, right? If you want to boost intimacy in the bedroom, bring a tinkling fountain into your bedroom. And like, that's all well and good, but like, there's so much more to it than that, right? You're not going to solve your connection to your root chakra, to the world around you by bringing wood elements into your home. Like you need to really delve into what is the actual problem, what is causing the deficiency or the excess. And like I said, you know, a problem that actually is root chakra might manifest in sacral or heart chakra, right? So that's why I just think it's so cool. And it's all so individual, you know? So yeah, cool. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes. I do. Yes. On a day of Judith, I can write her name down or I can email it to you. Anodea Judith. Judith is her last name. She has one called the Chakra Balancing Kit. And it's a book and a CD, and the book is a workbook. I recommend buying an actual notebook because there's not enough room. There's not enough room in there. Her books are awesome. Yeah. So she does also recommend bringing more wood elements into the home. But since she got so deep with all the other stuff, I'm like, all right, it's okay. We can bring some wood elements in too. So yeah, or like wear the color red to help you balance. And I'm like, what? Anyway, so questions from you guys? I'll take that as a no. Okay. Yes.
The book called Wheel of Life.
Okay.
That's like an old classic.
Okay. Who is that one by? Okay. I feel like I've heard of it. I'll have to look that one up again. Okay. All right. And that's what chakra means. It means wheel, right? And the chakras are like wheels of energy within us. So located along the spine. Spine. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. Om Shanti. Thank you. Namaste.